It was supposed to be a Halloween reunion, just one night to mend old wounds. But when a dark secret from the past is finally exposed, the truth begins to unravel in the most shocking way. Someone will die before the night is over. But who? And why does it feel like the past never left? Hannah hadn't seen her college friends in years. The bitterness, the accusations, the unspoken resentment, it was all in the past, or so she thought. She had moved on, built a life, and convinced herself she could finally leave the past behind. But when she received a message from Ryan, an old friend, inviting her and the others to a Halloween reunion, something inside her couldn't resist. Just one night, Ryan had said, to reconnect, to finally put everything behind us. Hannah agreed, even though deep down, she knew the past would never stay buried. It was Halloween, a time for masks and secrets, and she couldn't escape the feeling that this reunion would be one last chance for them all to come face to face with what happened. The weekend was set in an isolated cabin, tucked deep in the woods, a place that felt both nostalgic and foreboding. The moment Hannah arrived, the memories came rushing back. The laughter, the fights, the lies. But above all, the guilt. She couldn't forget the night everything fell apart. The group had been inseparable once, close friends through thick and thin. But then, the accident happened. It wasn't anyone's fault, or at least that's what they had all convinced themselves. A car crash late one night, with alcohol and poor judgment clouding their decisions. But the real tragedy wasn't the crash itself. It was the fact that they never spoke of it again. Not to each other, not to anyone. The silence was louder than the screams. One friend, Adam, had been driving. Hannah had been in the passenger seat. Rachel and Mark were in the back. That night, everything changed. Adam was the only one who walked away with no visible scars, and Hannah couldn't escape the truth. Adam had been drunk, and Rachel had been the one who didn't make it. The group decided to cover it up. They claimed it was an accident, but the real reason was simpler. They didn't want the consequences of the truth, so they buried it. They let it eat them alive in silence, and one by one, they drifted apart. Now, 10 years later, they were all back together in the same cabin. The moment they entered, the heavy air of the past seemed to descend on them. The old friendships felt like brittle glass, cracks ready to shatter. The night started off as any Halloween party might. Spooky decorations, costumes, and music filling the air. They laughed at old inside jokes, sipped on drinks, and attempted to relive the past. But there was something different now. It wasn't just the passage of time that had changed things. It was the weight of unresolved guilt that hung over them like a storm waiting to break. Adam was the first to crack. "I never wanted to come back here," he muttered, his words barely audible over the music. The others, drunk and lost in their nostalgic chatter, didn't hear him. But Hannah did. She turned to him, a knot forming in her stomach. Adam had always been the strong one, the one who could make light of anything. Yet tonight, there was something in his voice she couldn't ignore, a heaviness, a confession. Ryan noticed it too, and with a playful grin, he suggested a game. "Why don't we play a Halloween tradition?" he said. "Everyone shares a secret. Nothing too heavy, just something you've been keeping to yourself." It seemed harmless enough. They'd done it before during their college days. Always laughing, always teasing. But tonight, it felt different. Tonight, the game seemed to hold more weight than they realized. When it was Adam's turn, the room grew quiet. His eyes met Hannah's, and for the first time in years, she saw a flicker of something she hadn't seen in him before. Fear. He cleared his throat, his voice shaking as he spoke. "I know what happened that night," Adam said slowly. "I know I shouldn't have been driving, but I did. And Rachel died because of me." A chill ran down Hannah's spine. The words felt like daggers. The group froze, their playful banter silenced by the truth that had been buried for so long. "No, Adam," Mark said, trying to brush it off with a forced laugh. "We agreed it wasn't anyone's fault. It was an accident, but Adam wasn't listening. He was too deep in his own guilt. No, it wasn't. It was my fault, and I've carried that weight for years. I thought coming here tonight would make it better, but now I can't take it anymore." Tension gripped the room, the fun, the laughter. It was all gone now. What had been an innocent reunion turned into something darker, something they couldn't ignore. "I never wanted to be here either," Rachel said, her voice trembling. "You don't know what it's like pretending to be okay when you know the truth. We should have told someone, Adam. We should have told the police." Hannah stood motionless, her mind racing. She had always tried to forget that night, tried to pretend everything was fine. But now, the truth was spilling out of them, and the lies were unraveling. The confession was like a dam breaking, too much to hold back. Then came the silence. It wasn't just the tension that filled the room. It was the impending realization that things were about to change forever. Suddenly, a loud crash from upstairs jolted them from their thoughts. Everyone jumped, their hearts pounding as they turned to the stairs. "Who's there?" Ryan called out, his voice cracking. No response, only silence. They rushed upstairs, the floorboards creaking under their feet, and found Adam's body sprawled on the ground. A knife was plunged deep into his chest. The blood pooled beneath him, dark and crimson. Shock overwhelmed them. Was it a murder? Suicide? The questions exploded in their minds, but no answers came. The doors were locked. Their phones were dead. No one had heard anything. The group stood around Adam's body, their minds scrambling for an explanation, but none came. "Who did this?" Mark whispered, his eyes darting nervously between the others. "Who killed him?" Fear gripped them all, but Hannah's stomach churned as she realized that none of them were innocent. The past had never truly left them. It was here, in the cabin, in their hearts, in their minds. The hours that followed were filled with panic, blame, and accusations. Guilt flooded the room as everyone secretly wondered, who among them had the darkest secret? In the end, it wasn't just Adam who was murdered. It was their friendship, their bond, the trust they had once shared. The darkness that had been hidden for so long had claimed its first victim. After hours of bickering and fear, they realized no one could have gotten in or out. They had all been together in the same room the entire time. It wasn't a stranger. It was one of them. Rachel, in a fit of guilt and fear, confessed. She had been the one behind the wheel that night, and she had killed Adam to ensure the truth never came to light. But when she turned the knife on herself, it was too late. The damage had been done. In the end, only Hannah remained. She was left standing, her heart heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. The past had caught up with them all, and there was no escape.